This is Charles Schwab. It's not just a company, it's actually an individual. And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million. That's not bad.
In the wake of Trump's tariff drama, the fallout from which we're all still very much living through, it seems as though MAGA/Trump insiders have managed to come out on top of everything and everyone, profiting off of last-minute trades that have raised some flags surrounding the possibility of insider trading.
Some people made an incredible amount of money today. Some of the big movers included United Airlines, Kohl's, Tesla, Trump Media, Apple Computer. And all you had to do to get in on the fun was listen to Trump himself. He wrote on Truth Social just minutes after the market opened, "This is a great time to buy," 3 exclamation points. Hours later, he announced a temporary pause on tariffs. The market soared, best day point-wise in history. The question is, how many other people listen to Trump? I'm not talking about people, random people. I'm talking about the people who knew what he was going to do, who knew the plan.
Over the last few days, I've been thinking about it. I've been dealing with Scott, with Howard, with some other people that are very professional. And I think it probably came together early this morning.
Over the last week, Trump was engaging in what many of us are now calling obvious and intentional market manipulation. He was threatening the entire planet, including our penguins, with tariffs and telling everyone that he was definitely not going to change his mind about them. He wasn't going to back down, he said, and he knew what he was doing, and we all just needed to trust him, he said. Of course, he did eventually back down. The markets responded immediately and very dramatically, and then videos like the one you just saw started to turn up, with Trump in the White House talking about how many millions of dollars the people in his inner circle made off of all of his manufactured market chaos. Then we started hearing reports that Republicans in Congress had also made money in their own stock portfolios by buying specific stocks at the right time. Stocks like RH, formerly Restoration Hardware. The big tech stocks were maybe more obvious, but RH felt kind of random. But for Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, she made quite a bit of money off of that one. So now the big questions are, was insider trading going on? Did Republicans know that Trump was going to reverse the tariffs when they bought? Did Trump know that he was going to reverse the tariffs when he posted on Truth Social, quote, "This is a great time to buy," just hours before he announced the reversal? Well, some Democrats are speaking out. Here is Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
It's about market manipulation on the back of Donald Trump's
Absolutely. Absolutely. I have many questions. I'm very curious as to some of the discussions that were happening at the NRCC dinner, the Trump speech the night before this tariff announcement. I'm very interested in the May 15th disclosure deadline for members of Congress and what members of Congress, Republican or Democrat, were trading the day before and the morning of the tariff announcement. And I'm very interested in tracking some of the communications and who was communicating with whom in the 48 hours preceding.
What should the next step be, do you think?
Pardon?
What should the next step be, do you think?
Well, there are a couple of next steps. The most obvious and clear next step, I believe, is moving to the floor the insider trading ban for members of Congress. Now, of course, that is challenging to do when many of the people who would be subject to that.
And what I want to know, what we want to know, is what did Marjorie Taylor Greene know before that announcement happened? And what stocks did she and her family trade leading up to that announcement?
This could be an enormous scam. What we know is that about 9:30 today, Trump posts on social media that people should buy. It's a good time to buy. And then 3 hours later, guess what? He announces that there's going to be a 90-day suspension of many of the tariffs. Predictably, the market, which had been crashing, shoots up, and anyone who made investments early today likely made a lot of money. And so the question is, who close to Trump knew that he was going to suspend the tariffs? Which of his Mar-a-Lago friends or his billionaire advisors were able to capitalize on that inside information? Why did Trump send out that post to his supporters earlier in the day? The bottom line is that the chaotic nature of this tariff policy, with Trump's position changing every single hour, gives ample opportunity for any individual who has early access to information about the White House's change in position to make boatloads of money, either by investing at the right time or pulling their money out of the market at the right time. This entire White House is one giant grift. Donald Trump and his friends are in power in order to use their access to government to make money. It stinks, and we should get to the bottom of it.
So is this insider trading? It feels like yes. We all sort of know that that is exactly what's happening here, but insider trading isn't technically insider trading unless there's evidence that certain parties were privy to pertinent information that wouldn't have been available to them publicly. Insider trading in this case would probably be difficult to prove for the simple fact that buying the dip isn't anything new, nor is it privileged information. It's just how you play the stock market. You buy low and you sell high. Typically, you would buy the dip with the expectation that it will eventually rebound, so you could argue that these congresspeople and insiders who did buy the dip didn't know that the rebound would happen as quickly as it did. Maybe they were expecting to play a long game but ended up profiting a lot sooner than they had originally expected. By the way, plenty of regular, non-government, non-MAGA insiders bought the dip and made some money off of it. Also, Trump literally posted on Truth Social that it was a great time to buy. Again, he's not saying anything that anyone who pays attention to these things doesn't already know, but he posted that just hours before he reversed course on his tariffs. He could have posted it knowing what he was about to do in an effort to give cover to those who did, in fact, buy the dip. Of course, many of these stock purchases occurred before Trump's social media post, but for someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has a financial advisor managing her portfolio, it's plausible that she could have just decided to buy when she did on her own accord. What's interesting is the stocks that MTG bought. She invested in some major tech stocks, most of which were doing terribly at the time she bought. Not only were they doing terribly, but even with Trump's tariff reversal that eventually came, the reversal that we didn't know was going to come, these are stocks that were still expected to be negatively impacted for a long time just with Trump's tariffs against China. Still, the presumption is that these stocks will rebound eventually, however long it's going to take, and when they do, it will all have been worth it. Anyway, all that to say that while I know many of us feel they should, they probably will not suffer any kind of consequences for any of their actions. These millionaires and billionaires just made even more money off of us. They gutted our 401ks, they sent the global economy into a tailspin, and there's no one to call them out for it or hold them accountable for apparent crimes committed in broad daylight. The people who maybe could have done something about it have all been doged out of their jobs. Our Supreme Court won't do anything about it. Who knows, maybe half of them are also making money off of all of this. And the Democrats, don't hold your breath for anything meaningful to come from them, because we all know that there are still enough corporate Democrats in Congress who are going to be the roadblock for any of the progressives who are calling for investigations into this supposed insider trading. Democrats have been yelling about Nancy Pelosi's stock portfolio for years, and she straight up told us that she has a right to play the market as she pleases. She doesn't see anything wrong with what she's doing, and she won't do anything to address the legality of what she's doing. If Nancy Pelosi thinks it's okay when she does it, then she really can't complain about Marjorie Taylor Greene, can she? We will keep an eye out to see if any more evidence is uncovered or reported. Hopefully, if and when that happens, there will be some kind of incriminating evidence there. But even if that happens, the path to justice in this case will be long and convoluted with more roadblocks than we may be able to get around. All right, that's it for me. If you got anything out of this, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more. Thanks.